Feeling chilly? SG Heating and Cooling. Fixing it right, day or night. SG Heating and Cooling is located at 7005 Cooley Lake Road in West Bloomfield. SG offers free estimates on new equipment and 0% interest financing for up to 18 months. Eligible equipment qualifies for rebates from Consumers Energy and DTE. SG will clean your furnace, verify it is working properly, and perform a safety inspection for only $59. SG also offers duct cleaning and sanitizing starting at $300. You can find us on the web at sgheatingcooling.com or call 248-242-6730 today for all of your heating and cooling needs. SG Heating and Cooling, fixing it right, day or night. 248-242-6730.
You're listening to CRBRadio.com. The words and opinions you are about to hear are of the hosts and do not reflect the management, sponsors, or affiliates of Cave Radio Broadcasting.
This the real nonsense, you better call in. Tune in, you might even hear your best friend. You know we live very Saturday, better tap in. Got some real knowledge for all you young men. Not just for men, it's for ladies too. All ages, we don't care if you 82. Cause it's the real nonsense. The real nonsense. For real, let me hear that.
Coming to you live a stone's throw from the Motor City and courtesy of Cave Radio Broadcasting Studios in fabulous Redford, Michigan. This is The Real Nonsense, hosted by Dr. Christopher Rogers, who's sitting directly to my left. Chris, how are you, sir?
Hey, Eric, how you doing today? It's Saturday. Great day to be alive. It's cold outside. Detroit is officially in winter season mode.
Oh, not just winter, but blowing sideways. We're starting with the worst part.
It is freezing outside, and
it's not even cold yet. First of all,
I don't get cold, and I'm cold. I normally don't get cold. Half the time I don't even wear a hat and I have a bald head. But today, I don't know. Maybe it just hit me out of the blue, and I am literally freezing.
It's the same as the rest of the weather. I can deal with it till it's blowing sideways, and then there's nothing you can do.
Absolutely. So The Real Nonsense is sponsored by Jared Davis Photography. For the finest professional photography in this area, please contact Jared Davis Photography, where we make the magic the world want to see. Call 567-343-1980. So today we have a special guest. I've been waiting for a long time for this show because I've been talking about it since school started. Excuse me, so I got a little dry throat. So today we have with us in the studio Lieutenant Colonel Elizabeth Peters, who is the Director of Army Instruction for Detroit Public Schools Community District. Right?
Yes, sir. You got it right.
I wanted to make sure I had it right. So Colonel, I want to start off a little bit by, I just want to share with the audience a little bit about your educational and military journey so we can get them familiar with kind of who you are. So if you don't mind just kind of taking us down the road, how did you get into the military? Wherever you want to start is fine for us. It doesn't matter.
Okay. On the real quick, about age 15, I was placed in a foster home, and I spent 3 years there, and fortunately my foster parents were relatives. When I turned 18, however, they said, they could no longer support me. So with no home, no food, no place to go, the Army was a good option.
Okay.
And so I joined the Army, and with the only intent was to get money to go to college. And I joined the Army, and 3 years went along, and it was time to leave, and I decided I really enjoyed it, and I didn't want to leave. So I found a happy medium by joining the reserve, spent a year in the reserve, then moved on to the Guard, and then spent a number of years in the Guard, worked in the business world while I was in the Guard, received my degree, and then I went back on active duty in 2000, and I retired in 2015, 32 years later, after I was only going in for 3 years.
Wow, that's quite a journey. Lieutenant Colonel, so that is the second highest rank in the United States Army, correct?
No. I'm rather low on the totem pole of officers. I'm about mid-range.
Mid-range, okay.
Mid-range, yes. I was enlisted first.
Okay.
What's called enlist. I would reach,
okay.
E6, and then I retired as what would be termed a 05, and you can actually go all the way to, I believe it's 010.
Wow.
So I'm midway.
Midway. Okay, midway. Well, that's quite a journey. So, what is basics as hard as they say it is? Because I have a lot of friends who went to the military and they say basic training is really like difficult.
Well, it just depends on your mental perspective going into it.
Okay.
I mean, if you're apprehensive going into it, then certainly it's going to be challenging. If you have a mental state of, I love physical fitness, this is going to be fun.
Okay.
I actually found it to be one of the most enjoyable times of my life. I love physical fitness. I love challenges, and I found humor out of drill sergeants. I mean, I just have one of those minds that.
Really? All the barking? Yep,
Oh
none of
yeah,
that bothers you?
I could picture them in all kinds of ways
Wow.
and make fun of them later on in the barracks with the rest of the females and get them rolling. So yeah, you can imagine what kind of mind I have.
So would you say there are more females that are enlisted and joining the military now than it was when you came in, or is it pretty much? Have you seen an increase, or is it pretty much the same, or?
Well, I haven't really looked at the stats, and that certainly would be the way to judge it. But by my quick analysis, I would say that there are more these days. There's more opportunities for women these days. Certainly, when I went in back in 1983, there were opportunities, but not as many as there are now, which leads me to believe that more women would probably join.
So there are more women actively out in the field and not with what they would call professional desk jobs. Now they're physically out in the field, weapons, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's always been that way. It just
Okay.
wasn't known to the American people.
Yeah, it wasn't.
No,
It
because
wasn't
I
at
had one
all.
of those jobs that I was right on the front, that I would be right on the front line should I have deployed, which was explosive ordnance disposal, bomb squad. They
Okay.
were always out in front, and
Okay.
that was my profession. Very few women in there. I was one of the first 20 maybe
Wow,
that
okay.
joined that profession.
Okay. So when you went back into the service 2000, what was I doing in 2000? I was at Durfee Middle School teaching, I think. That's where I was.
Sure,
So
sure.
yeah, so that was right after the Gulf, right? Right after that? Because that was 90 something, right?
Gulf War was 1991, I
Right.
believe. Yeah, March of 91, somewhere in there. Or am I thinking March of 92? Yeah, one of those years. I think it was March of 91.
So when you went back in, you were deployed where?
So when I went back in, what's called the Active Guard Reserve Force
Okay.
for the state of Michigan, working
Okay.
for the Michigan Army National Guard.
So you've been deployed out of the country before, though.
I have been deployed out of the country. I have not been deployed to a combat zone.
Okay. So where have you been out of the country?
I've been to South America, various countries throughout South America, all over Europe. I have not been to like Japan, over in that part of the world.
Okay. So here's my dirty little secret. I've never been out of the country.
Not even over to Canada.
I've never counted Canada as out of the country.
That it is out of the country, though.
But it is.
Just because you're close to it doesn't make it not out of the country.
Growing up, you just go over there for the fireworks. It's
You
like-
haven't needed a passport.
Yeah, right. You just go over there for the Hey, let's go watch the fireworks in Canada.
Right.
So you just sit on a blanket, you just sit there, and you come back home at 10 o'clock. And,
Right.
But
Well,
yeah, I guess I've been to Canada
Times have changed.
twice.
Okay, but you've been out of the country.
Never been out. Yeah, so I've been to Canada twice, and I've never been to Atlanta, Georgia, ever.
What's the significance of Atlanta, Georgia?
I don't know. When I say that to black people, they're like, "Oh my God, you've never been to Atlanta." So it's kind of different when depends on who you're talking to. It's
This
like,
is
what's the
true.
big deal?
I've learned something new culturally.
Yeah, because every black person's been to Atlanta, I guess.
Is that true?
It's I mean,
So where do all Caucasian types go, or where have we
Canada.
been?
how do I
Gotcha. Canada.
how do I say it's been called the Black Mecca without sounding like the whitest dude I know?
Right.
I don't.
Right.
I have never
There's no
heard
way.
that.
Yeah, no, I've never been to Atlanta, and people always look at me like I'm crazy when I say that, but the opportunity just never existed for me to go. I just never been.
Very interesting.
I've been all over the South, but Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. You know what? I get this. I'm sorry. I got to share this story.
Yeah.
My boss on the military side works at Cadet Command, and I won't. He's a chief. I'll just say he's a chief.
Okay.
And I mentioned something about the Black National Anthem playing. He's like, "What the heck are you talking about?" I said, "Black National Anthem." He's like, "He's a black man, by the way."
Wow.
He didn't know. It's I mean, he's from. I'm like, so I've never heard of the Atlanta, Georgia thing. So I'm sorry.
The older I get, I run into the most unique things and experiences ever. Today, and this is totally off track, but I have to say this because I need
We're
you
off
all
track.
to let me know if I'm crazy or not.
All right.
So this is a completely off the topic conversation I'm about to have real quick. I took a break from class today and I went to the restroom. Right. So, and here's another cultural fact. Right. And I'm going to say this from my experience. Men don't really like to have a lot of conversation in the bathroom.
No, that would be weird.
It is frowned.
We just don't.
Right.
We just don't have conversations, particularly at the urinals. We don't have those conversations, right?
No, I can appreciate
Okay,
that, and I'm
right.
not even a man. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we don't have those conversations. So I walk into the bathroom, and this guy is walking behind me, like constantly. And it's hard for me now because I'm older, so I'm trying to have direction, and I'm trying to use my peripheral vision, if you get what I'm saying here. And it's a bit much. It's overwhelming my senses because I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on behind my back while I'm trying to stay focused on where I'm going this way. And then he starts looking in the latrines. Like he starts like kind of, and I'm saying, okay, this is getting really weird for me. Okay, so let me wash my hands and go. And then while I'm washing my hands, he comes to the sink and he's washing his hands too. And then he starts this conversation. So I'm saying to myself, God, why am I here? Why am I in this moment right here? What am I supposed to be getting from this moment? Because it's very creepy and weird to me. But I always feel like I'm somewhere where I'm supposed to be for that moment. So I don't know what the learning lesson was, but I quickly left and went back to class. and that was my weird moment for today. That's where I was.
I don't know how to help strangers through moments like that. When it's like, no, just stop talking to me. Just I'm gonna go. Just shh.
Yeah. It was
Stay
really
there.
Weird. It was really
I'm gonna
weird.
go.
It was really weird. So back to the ROTC. Fact,
Okay.
right?
Woof.
Yeah. So a lot of people tell students that, ROTC class, and I've heard this.
Okay.
I've heard it. ROTC is preparation for joining the Army. So, Colonel, can you speak to that or dispel that rumor, or where does that concept and mentality come from?
Okay, I think I can explain that.
Okay.
Originally, the program, when the National Defense Act of 1916 established the program, it was in fact as a recruiting tool or a throughput to the military.
Okay, it was.
Okay.
Factually. Okay.
Factually, yes. Over the years, it certainly has morphed. And back in 1916, we only saw Army programs, and I think it was in the 1960s where we started to add the other services, Navy and whatnot.
Okay.
And then later on, we added females, and then it morphed into not necessarily a place to a recruiting tool, but more so they took a turn and said, we're just looking to build good, loyal citizens. Citizens who participate in society, who vote, who get involved in politics, or whatever the case may be, government. So really, it has progressed over the years, and certainly as we move forward, we'll see the program change as well.
Sure. So let me ask you this. So you're mature and wise enough to have seen this program over the years, the development, the growth of it, from one decade to another, being mature and wise. So what would you say is the perception or the benefit of it? Because I was in ROTC, 81, 82, maybe 83 in high school at McKenzie. So, I mean, from then to now, what do you think is the benefit that students would see, or the benefit that you would express to them now versus then?
Okay. So I don't know what it was, during your time. I
Right.
certainly wasn't around then, but these days, the benefit is really we get the students in there, and it's about teaching them discipline, leadership, common courtesies in society, which
Absolutely.
we've forgotten about, timeliness.
Yeah.
There's so many aspects to the program. Oftentimes that people look from the outside looking in, they see the kids marching, and that's really not what the curriculum is about.
Yeah.
That's really actually an extracurricular activity. It is not the focus of the program, because we teach a lot of military history, government, personal finance, We weigh heavily on communication. The kids are required to give a lot of speeches.
Okay.
They're required to take leadership roles amongst themselves. So I don't think most people or most students realize the benefits until after they're out of high school.
Okay.
And they go, wow, I know how to do that. Simple things like what we were talking about earlier, developing an agenda for a meeting, running a meeting. How do you keep the meeting going so people aren't going, just get me out of here?
Yeah, right,
You know.
exactly. I think that, and from being a dean in the school and just dealing with climate and culture, I grew a fond appreciation for ROTC because it really helped with the amount of students that we had enrolled in the program. It helped to minimize a lot of behavior issues. It did, because they became a little more focused. They became a little more disciplined. You could hear it and see it in them every day after a few months in there, because disciplining students is difficult nowadays.
It absolutely
The nut
is.
doesn't fall far from the tree. So sometimes when you deal with kids who are sometimes difficult, then you meet the parent, and then you kind of see that. The parents that are involved in the program, are they supportive? Do you find that parents come out that they're kind of supportive of their kids being in the program?
Well, it can go either way.
Okay.
There are some parents that are extremely supportive because they've been through the program. Those are the ones that are usually the most supportive.
Okay.
Because, again, like I said, 5 years later, they realize how much they learn and the benefits.
Right.
And then there's another 40% that once I educate them on what the program does or what the curriculum really is and not just that marching kind of thing, and then they move forward and they go, oh, yeah. And then they start to see a difference in their child and confidence,
Sure.
self-esteem,
Sure.
the yes, mom, yes,
Okay.
dad kind of thing. So,
I don't want to make an assumption by asking this question, but a lot of programs that were in public schools have kind of fell to the wayside since I graduated from high school.
Sure.
Particularly like marching bands, things like that. But ROTC has maintained somewhat of a sense of longevity over the years. So what do you attribute that to? Is it federal funding? Would that be part of it, or?
well, it absolutely is.
Okay.
In my opinion, school districts are foolish not to take the JROTC program. For one, we teach the physical education, we teach the health education, besides all those other things. But yes, we are federally funded. The school district doesn't pay one penny for any piece of equipment,
Wow.
any computers, any papers,
Oh, wow.
anything
Didn't
of
know
that
that.
nature. What they do pay a part of is my salary. But they do not pay for the curriculum. And I've been blessed enough to have an opportunity to get a couple grants, and I've been able to take kids to like Gettysburg,
Okay.
and I get additional funding. Like if I go ask my boss at Fort Knox for additional money, he's quick to give it up for Detroit Public Schools Community District.
Wow.
So I think we come in at a bargain.
Oh, that's an absolute bargain. I didn't know the district didn't pay for any of that. I thought they paid for the weapons and the uniforms
No.
and all of that.
No.
Wow.
No, there are certain situations where Dr. Vitti has, he would like to expand some of the programs, and he would like a Navy program at Henry Ford. In order to do that, he's going to accept what's called a naval, I can't remember what the acronym is, but he's initially going to take the school and he's going to buy some of that stuff with the hopes that later on that the Navy will come along and pay for everything except for half of
Now-
the instructor's salary, approximately half.
Yeah, I didn't know we had a naval program. Ben Carson has naval.
Yes.
I didn't know that until this semester.
Yes.
Actually, when I was down there.
Yes, there are Air Force programs, there are Navy programs, there's a Marine Corps program. All the services have programs.
Where's the Marine Corps program?
We have one at River Rouge.
Okay.
That is not Detroit Public Schools
Right,
Community
right,
District, but that is the closest one.
Okay.
There is a Marine Corps program there. Again, Dr. Fegans has mentioned that Dr. Vitti would like to expand the programs, and I'm working hard to do that. The problem is right now is one of, like we suffer with teacher problems, we're suffering.
Absolutely.
I'm struggling to hire instructors right now, and if I could take a moment to explain
Sure.
why.
Yeah. Please.
So what we find is that less than 1% of the population joins the military, right? Less
Okay.
than 1%. Okay, so
Wow.
we're the 1%, and I don't mean the wealthy either, right?
Right.
Okay, we're the 1% that maybe for reasons we join the military, and of that 1%, about 60% may retire. Okay, and the only way you can become a JROTC instructor is you have to be retired from the military.
Okay.
So my
makes sense.
pool of potential candidates is real small.
Yeah, that makes sense. Eric, you were gonna.
No, that was going to be my question. Was I was going to ask if you have an easier or difficult time finding instructors, because I mean, a lot of the other shows that I work at the station do. There's a lot of content for outreach to combat vets, and let's. Basically, it sounds like there's also a lot of combat vets who, or not combat vets, but people retired from the military who maybe could be doing this and either don't know or haven't thought of that as a thing for them to do. But I don't know.
It's a really small population.
With teaching,
a combat veteran doesn't necessarily mean they've retired from service.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is true.
Would teaching ROTC impact their what is it, pension or benefits or anything like that? Could they just?
No, sir.
No.
It does not. Yeah.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, their military retirement, the military retirement that I receive,
Mm-hmm.
I still receive it. The government keeps sending me a paycheck every month, and then I now work for Detroit Public Schools as well.
Wonderful.
So no, it's if you're still healthy enough, I say you should probably keep working. So that's my
Yeah,
spiel.
yeah, if
Come
you're healthy.
work for me, please.
Right, exactly. How was Veterans Day this year? How was Veterans Day?
It was good. I had an opportunity to do a lot of networking, which is important for me when I'm looking to recruit and hire. And I had an opportunity to be in great company with a lot of really neat people that made me feel very humbled. Combat veterans, people that were open and honest about some of the struggles of being a veteran, especially if they're a veteran of the last 30 years or so.
Okay. So without getting into politics, because I don't do a lot of political conversations, I really don't.
Ooh, good. Neither do I.
But I would say the military has been thrust into the limelight a lot more in the last 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years, than it probably has been, in terms of people feeling like it's been politicized or weaponized and things that things that media just throws around, right?
Yes.
I mean, what's your perception of that? I mean, because you're a career military person, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So, when we take our oath, we swear an oath to the Constitution,
Yeah.
not for the office.
Okay.
And most military people, and I know there may be a few bad apples. Every organization has them,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
There may be a few bad apples out there, yelling and screaming and giving a poor name to the military. But for the most part, we're nonpartisan. Whoever the people elect for that office is who we take our orders from.
Right.
The people decide. And I would tell you that 95% of military people, probably more than that, live and breathe by that. I'm not going to fault you if I don't agree with you. I just say, Roger out, and keep on moving.
Yeah.
That's the basis of our society.
That's what you're trying to do.
You concede defeat and you move on.
You move on. Right.
Right.
So
I think we've gotten a poor rep.
So yeah, I think it did hurt a little, but I mean, those who know the true intent of the military and have people in their family who serve, they get it.
Right.
Right. So seeing the images of January 6th and all that was, I'm sure for you, very, very disturbing.
It's very disturbing, yes.
Yeah.
Very disturbing, because I would hate to see that any military person, first off, it's not legal for them to do that. They can be thrown in Leavenworth. You can't represent the military in uniform in any of that kind of stuff. So I can represent, the military when I'm doing military things like for this program, but not any political affiliation. I work for the governor. I work for the congressman. I work for the senator. Regardless of what political affiliation they are, the people have decided.
Right. The people decide.
Yeah, the people have decided. And I truly believe that that's the way, again, we have a few bad apples.
Right.
Most military people swear an oath to the Constitution, not to the office of the president, because the president changes, the governor changes,
Right.
et cetera.
Do you think that, do you think that these images recently in the last, year or two, do you think that's had like a significant impact on the Army's ability or the military's ability to recruit, or even at the high school level to be able to have students in the program? Do you think that really impacted and changed? Like, I know for law enforcement, I've talked to police officers who say, yeah, what happened in Minnesota and other places did kind of influence whether people wanted to be officers or not, in a way. Do you think that had the same impact with the military?
I'm not sure of that, but I think a lot of people who have a tendency to join the military are people that say, I want to make a difference, and regardless of what happens, they're going to join. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for example, the police officer there, what happened in Minnesota.
Correct.
I'd be more apt to say, I'm going to join the police force to change things.
To change it, right.
Make a difference. Stop
Right.
complaining about it. Make a difference.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people in the military that join the military have those aspirations.
Exactly. So, just to switch gears for a minute, you a sports fan?
Well, let's talk. Yes, I am, but not TV sports. How about that?
Ooh.
I like to play sports. I played college ball. I like basketball. Do I like to watch it? No.
In person, yes.
Yes.
So I'm gonna tell you, and I'm not saying this because you're here, but I'm gonna be honest. The Army-Navy game is one of the best games you can watch on TV. Just the grandeur of the
I
whole
might
thing.
watch that.
Just the grandeur of the whole thing. It is it's an event.
It's an honest game.
It's an honest game, and it's an
right.
event.
There's real, actual, fake bitterness on the field, and you can tell.
Real actual fake.
Real,
bitterness.
actual, fake bitterness. I mean, these guys, they're all in the military. They're all they have a thing. But I mean, I've been at the dinner table with a bunch of Army guys and a bunch of Navy guys and let them go at it. Like it just comes out. Like it's
really
there's I mean, think about it. In any school, do the departments compete against each other kind of a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Do you have those conversations with your peers who are in different branches of the military?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a lot of razzing and ribbing.
Oh, the dude, if you
Where do
haven't
think
if you
Jarhead
haven't been
comes
around,
from?
I was gonna say if you haven't been around,
I've never been around. Yeah.
just the Marines and any other branch, and just watch things escalate.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
It
really is.
Yeah, we call them chair force instead of air force. Jarheads, and we're snake eaters and grunts. I'm a snake eater. It's the ribbing amongst the forces. It's all in good fun because when it's time to fight and do what we need to do, we're there.
You're there. Kind of like the fraternities and sororities.
It's kind of like
in
brother
college.
and sisters.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
You go through it.
It's a little ribbing.
You go through it, and it's just it's over.
It's a mutual respect, though. Truly, it's a mutual respect amongst the military forces. Everybody has a role to play.
Had you ever had any second thoughts, like when you were going? Were you deciding between the Army and another branch, or was it always just Army?
I never considered another branch. I don't know why I didn't. Maybe because, and I don't recall, maybe because the Army was the first one that presented itself. I don't know.
Yeah, I took the ASVAB.
I did too.
And they offered me an opportunity to go to officers candidate school, something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I got a college scholarship, and it kind of changed the trajectory a little bit. But there was a recruiting office right on the corner of Grand River and Oakman, right there between and there was some really nice guys in there. They were really honest about what they were talking about, and they were very encouraging and supportive. Even after I chose to go to school and I came back home for Christmas and I went up there, they were like, "Hey, Chris, how you doing? Like, come on in." And I sat down and talked to them, and we had lunch and just talked, and I was like, it left a really good impression on me. It really did.
Sure.
And when they come into the
That's
schools,
great to hear.
when they come into the schools, they're very professional, very attentive. They work well with the kids. Do they go into every school in the district? Do they get a chance to go into like every high school?
Yeah, the military services are authorized to go into school. Of course, they should let the counselors know and principals. But yes, they there's an open door. And they certainly can visit my classrooms. I leave an open door. It's just one more opportunity. It'd be no different than I allow Wayne State University rep to come to my classroom.
Right.
I'm just giving the kids opportunities, choices. It has really, because, certainly.
Is it a certain like calendar time that they go into schools, or is it just kind of different for different schools, that different recruiters have different schedules? Or
Right. It goes by the individual recruiter's schedule. Depending on what schools he's covering, you may see him, in January. You may see him in March. He may have some numbers to make. They are held to numbers. That's no secret.
Okay.
They have certain numbers to meet. So he may be trying to push those last numbers prior to the end of his fiscal year.
So those recruiters are not necessarily under your auspices. They're
Oh, no, they don't work for me at all. I work for Detroit Public Schools.
Okay, and so the staff, the ROTC staff in the buildings, they report to you.
Yes, and the
responsible for them.
principal. They're dual-hatted. They
Dual-hatted.
have two supervisors, myself and the principal.
How does that work?
Well, from the management of the school perspective of course, is the principal. They own. I respect the principal. I call the principal and let them know I'm coming. But from a management of the qualifications and being an instructor and the background investigation that we complete to ensure that they're in good standing, that's my lane.
Okay.
That's my lane. I actually I'm required to provide quarterly counseling that goes forward to Fort Knox.
Oh, wow.
We want to
okay.
keep an eye on the instructors, right?
So
I
you're-
mean, in a good sense, because we are working with kids, and
Right.
we've had some bad apples out there, unfortunately, and we got to monitor what's going on, and we only want the best of the best out in the field.
So you have a program, you have instructors in every school, high school now?
No, currently I only have 10 programs running in Detroit Public Schools. I
Okay.
actually have 14.
Okay.
14, I'm going to call them flags. We call them flags. I have 14 schools that potentially are authorized JOTC programs, but it goes back to what we talked about earlier.
instructors.
My struggle getting instructors, yes.
Okay.
Especially female instructors.
Hmm.
I really need females. Well, remember, 1% joins.
Right.
About 60% retire, and of that 1%, only about 17% of that 1% are females.
Do you have a program at Western?
Yes, I do. I have a very nice program at Western. That is my largest program.
So Western, Cass, King, Renaissance, they have programs?
Yes.
Okay, that's good because those
Denby.
are 2,000 students.
Denby, CMA,
Yeah, CMA.
Mumford. I actually have East English Village, where I can't fill right now. Cody, it's not filled. Frederick Douglass, not filled. DIA, not filled.
I would love to see that program at Frederick Douglass with all those young men.
Yeah.
Be beautiful. That'd be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we had a program there. The numbers got so small, and had to make a decision to move those instructors to
Because of the
service
enrollment
more,
numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
service more students.
Yeah.
But I still have, we still have an opportunity to reopen that school or potentially move that authorization to another school.
So when's the military ball?
Well, I'm looking at May 5th this year.
Okay. That's graduations in May too for the first time.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that because now I need to rethink that.
See, it's a good thing.
Woo,
It's a
good thing we're having
together.
this.
Exactly. Graduations
Originally,
in May.
Yeah, May 5th was the target date for our military ball. I'm going to have to rethink that. I will probably move it to April.
So the event is grand. Where is it usually held?
Well, we've been having it at Burton Manor for the last several years.
Schoolcraft?
Yes,
Oh,
on
Schoolcraft.
Schoolcraft, whatever it is, 2777777.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
address. Yeah, on Schoolcraft there. We may return. I'd like to move around the ball to give, different business owners business. I thought about that, and I said I want to move. So we'll see where it is this year. It is quite a grand event. It's really is the culmination of what the cadets learn in the classroom about etiquette, proper dress for formals, invitations, sending thank you notes. It's really everything that we teach them, they now put it into practice.
Okay.
It sounds simple, but protocol in certain professions is still important.
Yeah.
And I want the kids to know.
Getting to do the tuxedo get up underneath the dress blues is pretty sweet.
So they
Yeah.
are wearing tuxes, or the men are in their uniforms, or
The men are in their uniforms,
uniform,
yes,
okay.
yes, and the women are in ball gowns.
in ball gowns?
They are not in cocktail dresses. They are expected to wear formal meaning long for
there
the
we go.
ladies,
Yeah.
yes, and appropriately dressed.
So how many kids you say on average come? Like a couple hundred or 1,000? Or
Well, I anticipate about 300 this year. We
Okay.
used to have 600 to 800,
okay,
but the program has shrunk because, again,
that's a lot. That's a
the
lot of kids.
instructors-
800 at a ball. That's a lot.
and you know what? That's what we like to see.
Yeah, that's a lot of kids.
We like to see the kids meet the other kids from the schools, do some networking. All that stuff is important. And we really emphasize that friendships and keeping those friendships, especially lifelong friendships, become important. They really do.
So who chaperones? That's The Army
instructors.
Okay. The instructors are the chaperones.
Yeah. We really chaperone. I mean, they don't go out until it's over with. We make sure they get in the car with their designated right. I mean, it's really tightly held.
Now, when my brother was in ROTC, I think his title was, he was at Mumford. This was 81. I think he was like battalion commander or something like that.
Yes.
Okay, so I know like they would all get together from all the high schools at one time sometimes. Does that still happen where they all come together?
Absolutely. There's a couple of events that we do that. If he was battalion commander, by the way, he was the highest ranking cadet in his school probably.
Yeah, he was.
Okay, yeah. Yes, we have what's called a dining in. Dining in is for the cadets where only the members of the group attend. So only people in uniform attend the dining in.
Okay.
The military ball is where you can invite people from outside.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the Guys and Gals Club dining in. We come together, and then that military ball. But there's all kinds of competitive events in JROTC. Just to mention a few, we have robotics, we have drones, we have marksmanship, we have drill, we have cadet challenge. I mean, people don't know we're big into technology. Into technology.
You know, the happiest moment one of the happiest moments for me in high school was when I got a red cord. I was on a fancy rifle team. I got a red cord. I kept getting bumped down in my rank because I was very immature. So
You got demoted.
I kept getting that. But I was on a fancy rifle team,
demerits.
and I could spin a rifle. I still can.
Wow.
I also
spin a rifle?
Once upon a time, could
You can spin a rifle too?
I could flip an M1. It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. I can do it. I can still do it.
And we were chatting before we started. I was our exhibition drill team that I was a part of my junior year, got to command my senior year, came very, very close to medaling at a drill meet against schools military academies. They have a whole class where they practice this 2 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And we got an hour in the gym at 6 a.m. on Tuesday, and we were a scrappy bunch. It was good times.
How did they get okay, I'm trying to remember. How did you get ranked? Do you take it's like a test or something you take? What?
Okay, so
For high school kids.
Okay, so you get rank. You're authorized the next rank every 6 weeks, and you generally have to go before a board of your peers. Okay, so it's literally like a hiring board. So another real practical thing to use in the real
exactly.
world. And then when they start getting real high ranking, like to come to be like a colonel, guess who they come before?
You.
Me, yes. And there's 5 of us sitting there, and it's really just giving that kid that little bit of pressure, not too much, so he starts to understand what the real world looks like. And they do well or they do not so well, but generally, they get promoted just for having the guts.
Yeah, just
showing in front of me, because that's what I always
nervous.
heard. We're going in front of Colonel Peters. Oh my God, So, yeah.
Is there a limit to rank attainment per grade level? Like if you're a freshman, is there a limit to the rank that you can achieve?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
You're not. Yeah, there are. You can only achieve so much rank so fast because with rank comes additional responsibility, and you have to have the knowledge. So certainly, we're not going to make a freshman a colonel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
the fast track has.
Yeah, the fast track.
But the fast track.
The fast track of the Civil War has been over.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're pretty much like private first class, maybe a sergeant, maybe.
Right, sergeant. Yeah, it's usually probably what you're going to see at the end of freshman year, and those are some of the best kids.
Right.
By the third year, they're starting to be an officer. And then the final year, they're becoming what's called the battalion staff or the battalion commander, or potentially even coming to work for me, the corps staff.
Oh wow!
I have one student, and currently our corps commander this year is Cadet Colonel Nadia Louie out of Cass Tech this year.
Wow!
But yeah,
interesting.
They come and they actually work for me, and I give them projects. We work on different things. They're required to do public affairs, do a lot of speaking. And set up programs. I gave them a mission of trying to collect Christmas presents for some of our homeless older students this year.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so they get all kinds of projects.
And while you're doing those projects, please let me know, because this show we want to sponsor or support some of those efforts. So please let me know what that is, and if we can help out in any way. be it on the air, be it a donation, we're more than willing and happy to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll have to check with them to see with the cadets to see how far along they, because we're moving on Christmas here, and that was their project.
Yeah, I got 4 adult kids. Christmas is coming.
They're adult; they get their own gifts.
I get gift cards. Everybody gets a gift card, but my wife. Everybody else gets a gift card. I don't even go to the mall and get.
Because you don't know what to get them.
No,
they
I
got
don't
everything
know.
anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go in the mall. The mall is raising my anxiety sometimes. It's too much. You know.
I haven't been to the mall in so long.
That's a kid's place.
Yeah, you worry about touching the door now. Then you worry, and people are still coming in contact with you and they're bumping you, and yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. The only store I go into is Macy's. I'll go in Macy's. I love the music.
I haven't been in the mall like you, probably a
Really?
couple
Oh,
years. I may have stopped in at one of the hubs real quick.
I think,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but not
Yeah.
into the mall, walking down the. I used to love it as a kid, of course.
Yeah.
Didn't we all?
I worked at Fairlane Mall for a couple of years.
I haven't been in there
after I
about 5
graduated.
years. Easy.
That's where I learned how to dress. That was good. I was the only white kid at the all black store at the Arabic Mall. It was good times. It was good times.
Yeah.
I was just laughing at you learned how to dress.
Right. Well, I mean, I showed
I can
up
see
straight
that
from work.
Carhartt.
Right. I came straight from work today. Not fair. Not fair.
No, I just razzing
I clean
you.
up well.
That's just
I clean
ribbon.
up
It's just
well.
ribbing you a
That's
little
your
bit.
fair.
So
I'm the only one dressed up here.
It's true.
I'm a little overdressed.
So my dad, and I didn't realize this until like he had passed. I went to his class. He had Just Blues. We never talked about it, but he was in the Marines. He went to the Marines.
Beautiful uniform.
It is.
It is.
It is a beautiful uniform.
It is the standard bearer, no doubt.
So what's some of the ribbon that you have here? What is some of that illustrate?
Okay, so well, the shiny badge.
Okay.
That's my bomb squad badge. The higher wreath means that I did it longer than most, probably a little crazier than most. I spent 17 years in U.S. Army Bomb Squad. A lot of the ribbons
Like
is
bombing, dropping, boom.
no more so like unexploded ordnance when it doesn't go off. I go take care of it. Or in a couple of instances, we did have an IED in Germany, improvised explosive device, where I went out. I've also went out on a mid-air crash in Germany where there was ammunition aboard the aircraft that was popping everywhere. To make sure that the emergency people could go in, we had to clear some of that. So that's what that's for.
Wow.
The ribbons, a lot of them are, quite frankly, I showed up and I survived ribbons. Okay, you know what I mean. Let's be honest
Not
here.
today.
Yeah, I showed up and I did a decent job, and then a lot, like from here up are achievement ribbons, something that I did above and beyond duty. Or, somebody thought I did. Of course, I don't put myself in for awards, other people do. So I would say they're earned. But like I said, a lot of them are I showed up. Like, you get a basic training ribbon just for completing it.
right.
I finished. Woo, yeah, give me a ribbon.
But that does a lot for our kids, though, right? I mean,
Oh, gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Napoleon.
Stacking clusters on your physical fitness ribbon was like there was a whole separate board of
Sure.
competition.
Sure.
that-
You know what?
for that.
Awards and recognition are important to all of us, I think.
I think so.
And
Yeah.
especially, just even in your meeting when your boss says, "Hey, you did a really good job on that project," it's
Yeah.
important. So these ribbons to the kids mean a lot.
Yeah.
And so we're careful. We're very careful to make sure they earn it.
So the rank you've attained now, this is pretty much it, or is there?
Oh yeah, I'm not going any further. I'm retired.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I made a lot further than I ever thought I would. See, you stay around long enough. And
Well,
no, quite frankly, I went in as a private, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
no.
you. I went in as a private. I certainly didn't expect to come out as a lieutenant colonel.
Yeah.
But as I moved along, I felt more comfortable in my own skin. And certainly I feel that I've earned that rank. And but I am surprised when I look back and go, wow, I made it that far. Yeah. It's quite amazing to me. And it's not a sense of pride, it's a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
What's your proudest military moment? What would you say it would be?
Proudest military moment. Boy, that's a really tough question. I don't think there was pride. There were moments of caring and deep felt camaraderie that I really remembered. And those times actually came during the toughest times.
Yeah.
When we lost a friend, or those times are the most memorable. and not from the sense of losing somebody, but how we came together and, just that sense of commitment and camaraderie to each other, and that friendship and that supporting each other when we're all suffering.
So what does retirement to the second power look like for Colonel Peters? Because, you're retired, but you're not retired. So what does retirement look like?
Well, retirement is I would like to travel.
Sure.
Of course, I think there's a lot of people that miss. You have a bucket list. We all do.
Yeah.
I want to spend more time doing the things I want to do, but I also don't ever foresee myself completely ever giving up working. I'll probably do volunteer work or work to give scholarships to kids.
Because you're married, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've been married how long?
Not very long.
Really? Not very long?
7 years.
7 years?
7 years, yeah.
Oh, so
I decided I wanted to make sure it was right before I finally got married.
So you got 6 years on me. So I've been married a year. I'm going on 2 years.
I've been with the same guy since I was like 22, though. I just wanted to make sure it was right.
Wait a minute.
I just wanted to make sure it was right, okay?
So we've been talking about the wrong thing the whole hour,
minute.
is what you're saying. You buried the lead, is what you're saying,
Yeah.
Colonel Peters.
Since 22, you got married 6 years ago.
I got married almost at 50, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what does he think about that you may not ever put it down, just be done?
He doesn't care one way or the other. He's always been supportive.
Oh, he don't care.
It's too late now.
No, he's always been supportive. He's, we try to support each other. I mean, we all have rough patches in our lives, but yeah, he's always been supportive.
He's not a military guy.
No,
No.
wouldn't marry a military man. I wouldn't. They're gone. They're gone. They're gone. They're gone. Can you imagine two people gone?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be ridiculous. You couldn't do it. That's all I mean. I wouldn't, because you're deployed and there's your kids and what do you do? And yeah, it's a mess.
So my wife and I are two of the most interesting zodiac signs that you will put together in a household, right? Gemini and Leo, right? Very, very interesting dynamic. So what is it like having a military wife and a non-military husband? What's the dynamic communication-wise? Are you kind of authoritative, or are you kind of, or does
No.
it kind of balance out?
No, it's a team.
It's a team thing.
It's a team.
Because you've been together for a long time.
Yeah, it's a team. He knows what I'm good at, and I know what he's good at. So when it's time for him to step up, I say, "You do it." You see what I'm saying? It truly is a team effort.
I'm willing to bet one of you picks the vacation destination, the other one builds the itinerary.
No, I do everything there.
Oh, okay.
That's my lane.
That's your lane.
Right.
That's my
Okay.
lane. Yeah. If it's time to, wrangle with a guy at the car dealership, that's his lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, get the best price. That's his lane. If it's time to tear apart the motor, his lane.
Right.
Not that I can't do it, but it's his specialty.
So I went into this thinking, I'm going to do what my grandfather did. It didn't work, right? So I said I was going to deposit my check into my wife's account and just let her handle the finances. I don't want to deal with it. She could just pay everything. Didn't work. She's like, no, I don't want to do all that. That's too much. I don't want to manage all that. Right.
See, I wouldn't mind doing that.
Really?
No.
I would love that. I would just love to say, here, just give me enough for gas and what I
That's
need to
my
take care
lane.
of. Right. I don't want to deal with that because I got a lot going on. So sometimes I just forget. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, my husband does too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's my lane. Finances are my lane.
My dad remarried specifically with
For that.
in mind.
With that in mind. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
I'm
to
never
do that.
late. I'm like, da, 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 da. That's at military side.
And when my friends, when I told my friends that, they look at me like, I said, no, I have a problem depositing my check into my wife's account. I just really don't. I would rather do it. It's just less work that I have to do. But she caught on to that, and she's a smart cookie, so she was like, no, you're gonna sit down and you're gonna figure this out with me every month. We're gonna do it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I wouldn't mind doing it. It's okay. It goes back to that teamwork. I'll do what's good, best this area.
Correct.
For me, that works well for us.
For
For
you
us,
guys.
it works well. So.
Great.
Wow, we really digress from all the ROTC.
Oh, that's
I know.
that's how we,
We
do
talk-
it. I was
we
going to
talk
say
about
we're,
everything.
We're getting
We went
close
all
to
over
it.
the
Yeah,
place.
we talk about everything.
And
We like to know people.
I had a chance to tell my recruiting office story and passed up on it, but now we're getting close to the end, and I'm going to jump in and do it because I was 4 years on GROTC in Garden City, and I had a relationship with my recruiter. Like Sergeant Westcott and me were buddies. So by the time it was time to graduate. Like, I wasn't even looking at colleges. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I had my Army career was planned. I just had to go down and sign on the line. I was going in communications. 6 years was the plan, and I went in to for the day. This was the day I was going to go and sign, and we were going to go. And I get there, and the receptionist is like, "Oh my goodness, are you Eric?" And I was like, "Yes." And she's like, "Sergeant Westcott had a personal emergency. He had to leave. He feels really bad. He wants to reschedule. Can we reschedule this?" I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, absolutely." And in like the 3 minutes I'm standing there chatting with the receptionist, the Marine recruiter comes wandering out of the back. He's like, "Hey, I'm here now. Just come down, come sit down, and talk to me." And I'm like, "Okay, what's the worst that could happen?" And he proceeds to, tell me why the Marines are the best. And I was going to ask him, why is it that the Marines are the only ones that can't keep a lawn alive on any military base I've ever been to? But I didn't. I just let that
lawn?
go.
Like grass?
Lawn, like, yes, you go to the Marine quarters in any military base you've ever been to, the grass is dead.
Where's this story going?
This is fact. So I take the practice ASFAB, and I figured out how to basically cheat on multiple choice tests a long time ago.
Terrible candidate for a military. But go ahead.
Yeah. I take it. He comes back and he's like, "You scored 99 out of 100 on this test," and I was like, "That's pretty good, right?" And he's like, "Well, yeah. The average score of the guys that come through here is between 65 and 70." And that was the moment I was absolutely certain I was not going to be a Marine. Because if you scored somewhere between 65 and 70 on that test, we can't work together on anything. I don't know, one thing led to another, and I dragged my feet a little bit. And this was, and then 9/11 happened. And I decided to wait a bit before I joined up and just never kind of did. And maybe I should have. But I think what I honestly think was having that, like, knowing I was going in and it was going to be 6 years no matter what. And then I pretty much guessed correctly that would have faced automatic re-up if we were in an active, in a theater of war, which we were. Mm-hmm. So that means 12 no matter what. And yeah, I balked at it and went to radio school instead, and here we are.
Is that the commitment time, 6?
No. It depends on what you go in for. It was as few as 2, as many as 6. For what I was presented.
Is that
with.
A hard selling point, Colonel?
Well, he is correct to your commitment is 8, no matter what. It's 8 at a shot, but 2 of them may be active and the other 6 are what we call inactive. And during that 6 years, you don't have to do anything. But if we go into an all-out war, you could be called back during that 6-year period, or for the total of 8. So the average commitment, most people go 3 or 4 years.
So before I got 2 questions for you before we close. So again, not to be political, but I just want to get your opinion on something.
I'll try not to be political.
The withdrawal of troops from overseas. Bringing everybody home.
I'm gonna leave that question alone.
You're gonna leave that question alone? Yes. How you feel about that?
Yeah, because I think it's important to be loyal to the decision makers. They do the best they can with the information that they have.
So you're fine with the decision?
Yes, and I think it's important to support
our
political leaders.
You got to do that, right? Whether you like it or not, you pretty much have to say, "Hey, it's the decision that was made."
The decision is made. That's right.
That's a very easy. I don't want to say easy out, but that's the appropriate answer, right? I mean,
it is for military people, yes, because if we were all fighting and always questioning the decision, nothing is ever going to get done. And it's just the decision was made, and you just hope. And generally speaking, our politicians are pretty smart people that are surrounded by a lot of really smart people.
Right.
And do they always make the right decision? We don't usually know until history writes itself.
Yeah. But I always felt like if no one supports leadership at the government level, the military has to.
Yes.
Like the military has to be the
Absolutely.
most supportive force of the government. It has to be.
You're correct.
Yeah.
It's the will of the people.
Can't be wishy-washy when you're in the military.
Has
Yep.
the passing of this the recent law, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, it makes it so that combat vets who are applying for the VA treatment at the VA, they used to have to prove to the VA that their combat service is the reason that they're sick, and now it's the other way around. Like, it's just assumed that they're and the VA has to prove that it's not. It's I'm trying to remember the name of it, but I guess, has this engendered a feeling between the military and the government that people who were not getting taken care of are now going to be taken care of, and the legislature is stepping up
I was
and
wondering where he was
really
going.
making things better?
But that's it.
That's okay. We're still taping.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think that the government is out to not support veterans.
No, of course not.
Yeah. So I think I forget exactly what they call it. The onus is on the government to prove that it didn't, and I don't think I'm going to go to any great length that it's
To
not
prove it,
line
yeah.
of duty. I think that it's just important to care for our veterans, because really we don't know all the things that they suffer from.
Right.
PTSD is one of the toughest ones to
And
determine.
it's real. It's
Real.
very
It's
real.
absolutely real. We all
Trauma's
have
real.
PTSD
Trauma's real.
from trauma. We all have suffered trauma from somewhere that we have this vision.
Yeah.
And anybody who's in a combat zone or suffered a traumatic event has it, and it could be debilitating.
Absolutely.
So I guess the answer to your question is I'm not really knowledgeable enough on the current changes. I am very knowledgeable on the VA disability system, but the current changes not so much. I know what you're talking
It
about.
just got passed.
I know what you're talking
And it
about. I
hasn't
haven't
even
read
been
it in
implemented
detail.
yet,
Yeah.
right.
So before we sign out, Colonel, just want to ask you: do you have any advice for like parents who, or recommending ROTC to any parents that are listening, or any advice for anybody that's contemplating a career in the military? Just anything, guidance, or any quick advice that you'd like to just pass on?
Well, if the child is interested in JROTC, then I feel it would be nice if the parents could support it. The parents just need to understand it is not a recruiting tool for the military, not any way, shape, or form. It's more about developing that citizen and, developing that child, discipline, timeliness, all those things we expect, an appreciation for the government, appreciation for history, military history, politics, whatever it may be. It's really not a recruiting tool. So I would encourage the parent, if the child is interested, to encourage that child. No different than if a child is interested in biology, you try to encourage that child's
Absolutely.
interest.
Science.
Now, if your child is not interested, please don't send them to me, because it doesn't do any good. The
Right.
child has to have an interest.
Like, don't send them to me to discipline them. Send them to me because
That's
they have an
right,
interest.
because
Got
it is a real curriculum.
Right.
It's not. I am not there to babysit the behavior
dumping ground.
problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And your second question was, I'm sorry.
If they're interested in the military as a career.
Okay, so if they're interested in the military as a career, what I tell my instructors, because we are not supposed to recruit, right?
Right.
We neither encourage nor discourage. So if they're interested, we're going to tell them the facts about our experiences.
Okay.
That's it. We don't go any further than that. Okay. We do bring recruiters in the classroom, but just the same way as we bring in Wayne State, Michigan State,
Right.
all those
Right.
other
Right. Same
opportunities
thing.
for kids,
Same
right?
thing. Well, look, it's been a great show, Colonel.
We'll see how that airs for you.
Hey, hey, it's gonna be great because I love you being here. I wanted to sit down and talk to you because I had a lot to talk about. So this has been another great episode of the Real Nonsense Podcast with Lieutenant Colonel Peters. It's been a great show. The Real Nonsense is brought to you by Jared Davis Photography, for the finest in professional photography in the Detroit area, where we make the magic the world we want to see. Call Jared Davis Photography at 567-343-1980. Thanks and peace.
Well, that went way